Good day to each and everyone. My name is Jamie Chris Odaez from Katmona Biliran, a third-year student from Bachelor of Science in Computer Engineering. Today, I will be discussing to you about my presentation about Mac OS or the Macintosh operating system. But before we proceed to our main topic, let's discuss first a very short introduction about operating system. So first, let's talk about what is an operating system. An operating system is a type of software that gives life to the hardware components of a computer so that its features such as the application software and the system software would be usable for the end user. Every computer is dead without an operating system being installed on it, and it only requires at least one operating system to run programs. These programs include browsers, word processing applications, computer games, and computer utilities which only work with an operating system. Computers have language containing zeros and ones only called as binary. Humans, on the other hand, may understand multiple languages except zeros and ones. Then, how did human and computer talk or communicate with each other? It is by the use of the operating system. It helps you communicate with your computer without knowing how to speak the computer's language. The user can't use any computer or mobile device without having an operating system. And now, let's begin or move on to our main topic, which is the Mac OS or the Macintosh operating system. So let's define first the Mac OS. Mac OS is a series of operating systems solely developed and manufactured by Apple Incorporated. Its first release was on January 24, year 1984 with an original name, System Software or simply Software, which later on being rebranded to Mac OS or the Macintosh operating system. This operating system is known for its interactive user interface and security features. In the market, Apple Mac OS is the second most widely used operating system after the Microsoft Windows. Apple Mac OS had released 16 operating systems in succeeding years after its first release on September 13, year 2000. With their preview version of Mac OS, also known as Kodiak, the next 9 succeeding Mac OS versions were named after big cats, and following these operating systems were all named after famous geographical locations in California. History of Mac OS versions, their features, and the date of releases. Kodiak. The preview version and the date of releases was on September 13, year 2000. Kodiak, known as the preview version of Mac OS, made for public availability so that end users can give feedbacks for possible updates on the next release. Kodiak is the internal code name Apple gave to its Mac OS X public beta. It was the first instance of Apple's Aqua, a GUI and visual theme that offered a new font set, app icons, and other features. The public beta also introduced the dock and menu bar, which created a unique navigation experience, as is the case with many public beta versions of software. It was meant to find various bugs and flaws before the operating system's final release. The public beta included a suite of native apps that can still be found in the operating system today. Text, Edit, Preview, Mail, Terminal, QuickTime Media Player. Cheetah version 10.0 and the date of releases was on March 24, year 2001. Cheetah is the internal code name Apple gave to the first official release of Mac OS X version 10.0 rather than introducing many new features. This version addressed the criticisms and flaws found in the public beta. However, many users felt it still had room for improvement with its responsiveness, reliability, and variety of applications it offered. Puma version 10.1 and the releases of date was September 25, year 2001. Mac OS X version 10.1, internally named Puma, was offered to version 10.0 users as a free upgrade because Many critics felt Cheetah was not ready for public release. In addition to system-wide performance improvements, Apple introduced a new features: first, DVD playback support, easier CD and DVD burning in Finder app, wider printer compatibility. Jaguar version 10.2 and the date of releases was on August 23, year 2002. Version 10.2 was the first Mac OS X version to use its internal code name Jaguar. As part of its marketing strategy, Jaguar was a paid upgrade for all Mac OS X users, though Apple offered free upgrades for K-12 features in the United States. New features in the Jaguar release included graphics compositing directly on the video card with Quartz Extreme, contact storage with Address Book, network sharing capabilities with Rendezvous, letter named Bonjour, AOL-based instant messaging with iChat, search functionality in Finder, accessibility tools with universal access, MPEG-4 support for QuickTime. Panther version 10.3 and the date of releases was on October 24, year 2003. Version 10.3 called Panther was the first version to discontinue support for some of Apple's oldest hardware models, namely the Power Macintosh and PowerBook. Panther included the following improvements and new features: Safari web browser, fast user switching, file vault encryption, font book, better interoperability with Microsoft Windows and support for Microsoft Office files, video conferencing capabilities in iChat, better multi-window navigation with Expose, built-in fax support, faster PDF rendering with Preview. Tiger version 10.4 and the date of releases was on April 29, year 2005. Tiger was the longest-running version of Mac OS X with 30 months between its launch and the launch of its successor. It was the first version of Mac OS X that was native to Mac OS made with Intel processors. Tiger included the following improvements and new features: Spotlight search, voice control with VoiceOver, a scripting tool called Automator, RSS reader in Safari, smart mailboxes in Mail, mini applications layer based on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript called Dashboard, 64-bit architecture, dictionary and thesaurus, a mathematical program called Grapher. Leopard version 10.5. The date of releases was on October 26, year 2007. Apple's release of Leopard was significantly delayed because of the concurrent development and launch of the iPhone. Leopard was slow to bring some of the most significant changes to the Mac OS X environment, and it included the following improvements and new features: remote access for mobile me users with Back to My Mac, redesigned menu bar and dock with a new organization feature called Stacks, parental controls, calendar sharing and group scheduling with iCal, green screen support and live filters with Photo Booth, advanced file preview framework called Quick Look, virtual desktop capability called Spaces, automated backup with the machine required separate hardware. Snow Leopard version 10.6 and the date of releases was on August 28, year 2009. Snow Leopard was the last version of Mac OS X that was released in disk form and at a significantly lower price point. This version focused heavily on expanding the Mac OS X 64-bit architecture and improving performance, efficiency, and stability. As such, there were minimal updates to the look and feel of the OS but noticeable improvements to the amount of disk space available and system-wide responsiveness. New features and improvements introduced in Snow Leopard include Mac App Store for digital app or OS installation aligned with the iOS App Store, Finder and QuickTime X were written in Cocoa, Apple's object-oriented API, crash resistance in Safari, multi-touch trackpad support. Lion version 10.7 and the date of releases was on July 11, year 2011. Lion was the first version of Mac OS X to be released in the Mac App Store. This proved to be prohibitive for users who had not upgraded to Snow Leopard, so Apple began offering Lion upgrades via in-store downloads or USB flash drive installations. Lion was also the first release that was not priced for individual licenses. Instead, users could purchase the upgrade once and download it to all of their supported Mac devices. Lion included the following new features and updates: peer-to-peer wireless sharing with AirDrop, video conferencing with FaceTime, Apple Push Notification System or APNS, emoji support, Launchpad, multi-touch gestures, motion control, system-wide support for full-screen apps, resume functionality which restarts apps in their most recent state, natural scrolling which mimics touch screen scrolling behavior. Mountain Lion version 10.8 July 25, year 2012. Mountain Lion marked Apple's shift toward an annual update release cycle. Its primary goal was to incorporate more apps and behaviors found in iOS to create a cohesive user experience across all Apple devices. These apps and behaviors include cross-device synchronization with iCloud, Messages app, Reminders app, Notes app, Notification Center, Game Center app, device mirroring with AirPlay, system-wide sharing, embedded Facebook and Twitter integration, dictation. Mavericks version 10.9 and the date of releases was on October 22, year 2013. Mavericks was the first update to OS X, dropping Mac from the official title offered completely free of charge. It was also the first release that departed from the Big Cut naming convention in favor of a new theme centered around California landmarks. Mavericks included the following features, updates, and additions: iBooks, Maps, password storage with iCloud keychain, better multi-display support, interactive notifications, Finder tabs and tags for better file organization and navigation, improved battery life and reduce energy consumption, compressed memory to improve responsiveness. Yosemite version 10.10 and the date of releases was on October 16, year 2014. Yosemite expanded the continuity features introduced in Mountain Lion and Mavericks to create a fluid handoff experience between Mac and iOS devices. Yosemite features updates and additions include Today View in Notification Center, iCloud Drive cloud storage, Safari update optimized for streaming, Mail update with support for in-app PDF editing, Messages update with more fine-grained controls, family sharing, iTunes 12, Swift programming language for app developers. El Capitan version 10.11 and the date of releases was on September 30, year 2015. Because Yosemite brought many function and design updates to OS X, El Capitan was more focused on refinement. Apple developers wanted to make the operating system faster and more responsive while also offering more intuitive UX capabilities. Feature updates and additions in El Capitan include split-screen window management, streamlined, gesture-driven mission control functionality, advanced spotlight features for stocks, weather, sports, and natural language processing, pin sites in Safari, smart suggestions in Mail, improved graphics performance with Metal. Shera version 10.12 and the date of releases was on September 20, year 2016. Share was the first update to use the Mac OS moniker that's still in place today. This was meant to bring consistency to all of the operating systems in the Apple family, including iOS, watchOS, and tvOS. Share introduced a number of new features and improvements that continued to streamline the user experience across all of these devices. These include Sherry, Apple's virtual assistant, universal clipboard for copying and pasting from one device to another, iCloud desktop and documents, auto unlock with Apple Watch, Apple Pay, stop-back reactions in messages, picture-in-picture support, optimized storage, Apple Music support in iTunes. High Sierra version 10.13 and the date of releases was on September 25, year 2017. Similar to Snow Leopard, Mountain Lion, and El Capitan, High Sierra brought mostly under the hood updates to Mac OS. Specifically, High Sierra introduced the following feature updates and additions. Apple File System or APFS for improved storage performance, security, and reliability. Metal 2, an updated graphics API with support for virtual reality machine learning, natural language processing, and external GPUs, support for high-efficiency video coding or HEVC, relatively minor performance and design updates to Photos, Mail, Messages, Safari, Notes, and Sherry. Mojave version 10.14 and the date of releases was on September 24, year 2018. Mojave introduced several design and productivity updates that elevated the Mac OS user experience. New and improved features include dark mode, customizable file sorting for desktop with stocks, screenshot and screen recording capabilities, iOS apps including News, Stocks, Voice Memos, and Home, redesigned Mac App Store, intelligent tracking prevention for safer internet browsing with Safari. Catalina version 10.15 and the date of releases was on October 7, year 2019. Mac OS Catalina introduced new features and enhancements that focus on entertainment and iPod integration. Specifically, these innovations included Apple Arcade for desktop gaming, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, Apple TV, sidecar functionality for extending Mac Workspace to iPod, voice control for added accessibility, Mac Catalyst for bridging the gap between Mac and iPod apps, screen time activity monitoring, Find My App, relatively minor updates to Safari, Mail, Notes, Photos, and Reminders. Big Sur version 11 and the date of releases was on November 12, year 2020. In terms of version numbering, Mac OS Big Sur marked a shift away from the 10.x convention in favor of a whole number increment. Big Sur also introduced a major refresh of the Mac OS user interface with easier navigation controls, a new color palette, and completely redesigned app icons that are consistent across Apple devices. Other feature improvements and additions include Control Center, Do Not Disturb, updated Notification Center and widgets, Safari updates for faster performance, better privacy, improved productivity, and longer battery life, support for Apple M1 chip, file level encryption. Monterey version 12 and the date of releases was on October 25, year 2021. Monterey introduced a wide range of new features and functionalities that improve the macOS user experience. These include activity automation with shortcuts, test flight for Mac, universal control for seamless UX between Mac and iPod devices, spatial audio and portrait mode for FaceTime, SharePlay for FaceTime, Apple Music, Apple TV Plus, and third-party apps, and device machine learning with live text and visual lookup, customizable focus modes, note sharing and real-time collaboration, tab grouping in Safari, low power mode for battery conservation. Mac OS Security.